Hi, my friends. Pat Sloan here. I don't get to show you a blank wall that often. Blank, 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 all the way up. That's ready for me to put the blocks for Ukraine up on the wall. And what I want to do today is walk through a couple of ways you can look at a patchwork quilt with blocks and sashing to assemble it. Just because the pattern is written one way doesn't mean that you have to necessarily assemble it that way if it's easier for you to do it a different way. And there are I want to show you how to look at it so that you can look at any kind of quilt and figure this out for yourself. So the first thing is I had to take all these blocks off the wall the other day. And when I did, I went ahead and took the alphabetties. See, that's number 3. So this was column number 3. They're layered. The first block is on top, which is the top block, and this is the bottom block. So I need to put these all back up on the wall. I have some of the sashing cut and all the cornerstones cut for the pattern, which is, where's the pattern? So here it is. It's simple sashings and cornerstones. This is a size for the Lutheran World Relief, so that if you want to donate your quilt there, this size is the right size. So I am going to get up on the ladder and put the blocks up so we can take a look. Doesn't it look fabulous all up there? Ah, so excited, so excited. So normally patterns are written in sort of a standard way where you're either doing vertical or horizontal rows and then adding the verticals together or the horizontals together. Patterns are written like that. That's pretty standard. You're going to find that in single patterns by designers, books, magazines. That's the way we do it. That way it's easy, it's consistent. We don't have to rethink the wheel all the time. It works for everybody. But there are other ways to look at it and approach it. So I have some sashings here, and what I want to do is sort of talk to you about how to chunk this out and think of it maybe in a different way so that it's a little bit easier. Let me just move this guy. Now what you can do is look at maybe putting your sewing your units in kind of chunks. You could just say you're going to do the top half. So you would be these 6 blocks. You might sew those in rows like the pattern says and do the bottom 6 and then sew those together. What that does in this particular pattern is eliminate this one really long seam of 4 blocks. Everything then is 3 blocks, either 2 or 3. So that is sort of shortens that long length that you have to deal with, which is pretty nice. So that's one way to do it. Another way that is kind of fun is to assemble in units. Now this doesn't have as many, but you could do them in 4s. 4, 4, and if it were a bigger quilt, 4, 4. But here you could do 4 together, then these 4, and then 2, and then 2, and then assemble them. So that you actually are just making smaller units for you to handle and work with, so you don't have these many of these long strips that you would have to deal with for like the sashing units and the block units themselves. Another way that I like is to take your sashing and work on it. I'm going to move this block, but work on one block like this, where you put a sashing on like the right side and the bottom and your cornerstone. And so you're assembling these units that have block, sashing, sashing, cornerstone, and you do them all like that, and then you start setting them together. So that's another approach that you could do, which they all end up with the quilt being assembled and finished and looking the same way as everybody else's. So there's no difference to the end result. It's just your method to get there. Think of it as like multiple ways to do a half square triangle. You can do it by just cutting triangles and sewing them. You can oversize and make 2 at a time. You can make 4 at a time. You can use a die cut machine. All of them end up with a half square triangle. That's the same thing with putting your quilt together. All these methods end up with the same top. It's just a different way to approach it. All right, so I have a few other things today. We're going to pop over to the back side of the table. A few other things I want to show you. First, I got the Midnight Moon. I got them all cut for this week. So I wanted to show you how that looks so that I can keep track. Now I know from the blocks that one of them has this big square. So sometimes I'll write a little piece of paper and put on here, but this week I know that the one block has the big square. And so I don't need to, you know, look it up. And then this is the other block. I think this is the buzzard block. And I put the sizes so that it's the large, the medium, and the small block. And I've just stacked everything. These will lay right on top of each other, and they can go then right in the top of my rolling assistant. They don't slide. You know, I've been afraid, you know, I am being careful when I pick it up so that I don't like scoot it and sort of like shove everything. Although the shapes are pretty easy to figure out. This is the only one where I would be worried I'd lose this one square. So there we go. So I've got those ready to go on the design boards, which I'm finding this method absolutely a game changer. Total game changer for me for the week. I can just have this ready now. I cut it on Saturday and perfect. Let's see, what else do I have? A few of you were asking about my cross stitch. And yes, I am still cross stitching. I hadn't showed it for a few days. Heaven forbid, I haven't showed it for a few days. No, you know, I don't cross stitch as my primary thing. So what I did is I made a decision for the little ones. Oh, let me grab it. For the small ones that are for each month, I skipped doing the one for May in April, and I don't know if I will do it or not. I don't know if I'll do the May one or just skip it for a little bit and work on the other project. So here is the May, which is this darling little bike, and then I really love June, which has the bee skep and little bees. So I don't know if I will do them right now or not. You know, it's okay. I don't know what's I just feel like I needed a little break from that, from having to rush to get it finished. I guess that was the feeling. And it's like, I want this part to be fun. The cross stitch to be fun, just like your hobby is fun. I don't want to all of a sudden be feeling like, oh, I'm not done with that. The other thing is I bought some new cross stitch because I have loved the Quaker style of the cross stitches, and I saw this one for June, and we were married in June, Greg and I, so I thought, oh, that is what I want to do. And I bought the threads. I think I have all the right threads. I have to double check that, but I think I'm going to stitch this one while I am doing the flea market flowers. So I've got the flea market flowers, and my status there is pretty good. I am working on the very bottom section now. Here you can see the bottom section of the middle. And my goal is to get that done by the end of the month. That means it will have taken me 5 months, January through May, to do one section. There's 2 more sections. So I would like to, in the 7 months, I would still like to finish this by the end of the month. That means I need to pace myself really well so that in the next 3.5 months I do one section, and the final 3.5 months I do the other. Or if I can get further along than that, that would be a bonus. But that gives me an idea of really how much I'm stitching, which you can see is not a lot. To take 5 months to do all of this, and that's not even, I'm not done yet. And so I thought, okay, well, that's kind of interesting for me to know about how much I'm stitching. I actually think now that it's warmer out, I might stitch a little more because I want to be able to sit outside. These things are not so big. I can take them outside and sit and stitch. When I'm inside, I tend to want to be on the machine. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Plus, I discovered something new to use. These thimble jars. They're just so cute. But look inside. I put these floss winders, you know, floss holders, and this just works so perfect. Got my scissors in there. I have this as a needle holder. I don't know. I just love this, and it's been really useful. So if you, I'll link you down below in the description box and at my website for that today, because I do think that is a really useful way to keep those in there like that. Oh, and yes, I did get my hair cut. I just realized I didn't say that, so I better say it now. Yes, I got my hair cut. I do have some great stories I collected this week for our Quilts for Ukraine. So I want you to see those. Plus we have reached might be 250,000 donations from all of you, which is amazing. So take a look at these quilts. Let's start off with Anne's quilt. She made this and gave it to the local Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and they're going to raffle it for medical supplies. It is so gorgeous. Now Fran and her group, Fran wanted to do the charity quilt. So basically she said, I wanted to do one and donate it. And so she told her friends, and they ended up gathering about 50 quilts. She lives down near Rachel's shop, the Quilted Twins in Florida. So she says about a 2-hour drive. So a group of her friends here, they took all those quilts and headed over to the shop to drop them off the other week before the deadline closed. While they were there, they took some other pictures. There was tons of pillowcases. And here's a picture of Rachel of the Quilted Twins on the left with some of the ladies that were helping Dorothy and Audrey that day. So they donated the quilts plus shipping fees so that they could be shipped out to Becky in Poland, which is Rachel's twin sister. Okay, what else do we have here? I'll give you an update. Our friend Loretta, whose family in North Carolina was having their Ukrainian family brought in as refugees. They made it. Yes, this is so heartwarming. I want to show you 2 pictures here, which I have permission to share with you from Loretta's family. This is her cousin's mom and younger brother. And so there's them with the quilts that were sent. They were so touched. They couldn't believe that people they didn't even know would send them these. Isn't that wonderful? Ah, so great. Christina made this beautiful soft version with 4 of her friends. They got together and they are using it as a fundraiser, and now they're on to their second quilt for Ukraine. So Karen's used my star in the center and then Bonnie Hunter's heart block all around the outside. So that's kind of in progress, but I wanted to show it to you and can't wait to see what Karen does with it. So lastly, our friend Margarita lives in Italy, and she wanted to let me know that she is a new quilter, but she lives in the center of Italy, in a town kind of in the middle of the country, and that her local sewing lab is going to be sewing quilts for Ukraine. So I'm hoping Margarita will keep me updated and send some pictures. Before I'm done today, I want to show you the 2 quilts that I'm going to do for binding. First, look in my hallway on the shelves here. Let me show you that. With having the quilts out here in the hall, I'm standing in the doorway that goes to the garage, but with having all these stored, I also have this shelf here that I've been able to use and just put working things on it. So this is where I have some of the tops and bindings that need to be done. I have some more in another place, but I'm thinking of moving them all in here. So that's been really nice to have that there where I can get to them easily. Right now I have them sort of stored in these baskets, and I think I'm going to rethink that and just use this shelf. Then I don't know what I'm going to do with the baskets, so we'll see. So I have 2. I want to go for the win here in April. I'm going to do the small ones first and then a bigger one. So because the small ones are easier to handle and quicker. It's not that much quicker, but it feels like it. So I have this postage stamp one that I haven't done yet, and my version of the Woodland Wonderland from the extra red and white, the duplicate red and white blocks. I did a few of the blocks in red and white so that I could have a smaller little wall hanging from the Woodland Wonderland, because the original is going to my friend, so I get to keep this one, and I want to get that binding on it. Okay, my friend, today is sew up your blocks for Ukraine. Well, not just today, this week. So let's work on getting that top finished. If you don't get it all finished, you can just move it into the next week, which I probably will do. And this will have to go out to be quilted at the spa. So I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.